And welcome back. Today it's all about transparent layering and mark making, and I'm creating a mixed media art journal page, and I'm starting with a Neocolor one just to break the blank page to make some scribbles on my paper. And at this stage I don't know if this is going to be covered up or not, and that's also not important. I often get the question why I cover things up when I'm creating. I think this is usually a question from a beginner mixed media and collage artist because um, it's about the process, and in the beginning, I don't know where it's going to end, and I don't know how the final piece is going to look. And that's the reason why I'm covering up stuff during the process. Today I'm working with collage papers. I have a box here with different ones. A lot of them are on this brown transparent paper. I have made patterns on this paper with stamps and acrylic paint. I have all kind of stuff in this box: leftover paint paper, stamped old book pages, jelly prints, mainly on rice paper, but also on normal printer paper, which is around 120 GSM, not too thick, so it's good for collages. I don't really know which papers I'm going to use. I just go through them, and I really like the turquoise and also this apricot reddish color because that matches my neo color that I've used. And I'm also going to use some of the black and brown paper and some of this here with the white stamping on it. I did that stamping with acrylic paint because it gives you quite a good layer and opacity, and it's also waterproof. I prefer this when I stamp collage papers. Also, it always looks a bit more natural when you use acrylic paint because the impression of the stamp is not that perfect, and all impressions will be kind of a little bit different compared to usual stamping with ink on paper. I'm starting with this, and that's what I meant with transparent layers. These papers are often quite thin, also the rice paper, depending on what you have on top. And this one lets this neo color shine through, and I think that's a really nice accent, and that would not be there if I hadn't put these marks underneath. I'm using a simple glue stick from Tombow to adhere my papers, and I will then add a layer of clear gesso on top when I'm done to protect the page a little bit and also to give it a good surface to work on with other materials. The journal I'm using is that cheap journal from the Action Store, which is only available if you are from Europe, and I think there are stores in Germany, Netherlands, France, not sure where else in Europe. I believe also in Austria. And they have this journal, I believe it is around 2 to 3 euros. And usually the quality of their art supplies is not very good, but I really like the format of this journal, and recently I bought one to try it out, and I made already some videos about this, and I'm really surprised about this journal and I love it, especially for mixed media, but also it's really nice for watercolors, especially when you're doing abstract watercoloring, because I love that the paint does not soak into the paper immediately. It lays a bit on top and you can work with it, and also it dries quite vibrant, and that's what I really like. And I think this will be my go-to journal for art journaling because also the format is brilliant. I will keep on working in my smaller journals because I also love this smaller work. It's just completely different. But as a big normal art journal, it's really gorgeous. Um, I I went back to the shop and I bought about 5 to just to save them because you never know how long you will get them. I'm now going in with that pinkish apricot paper. I really like that color combined with the others on the page. And I'm just cutting some circular shapes and I'm adhering them to my page. This journal has always a double spread with textured paper and then a double spread with smooth paper. I like both, just the textured paper has quite an unnatural, intense texture, so I usually use these pages to cover them up with some kind of collage background. I'm happy with these papers and I'm now covering up everything with a layer of clear gesso. When my gesso is dry, I want to go on top with more layers of transparent acrylic ink. But before I do this, I will try the inks on some scraps of the collage paper that I have used, just to see how the colors will turn out. It's a bit different because there is no clear gesso on top, so the inks will not layer as well as on the page itself, but it's enough to try out which colors I would like to use. I picked 3 that I was interested in, and I have a neon pink from Sinali, I have a burnt sienna from Liquitex, and a raw sienna also from Liquitex. I'm expecting them to be good for my page, but I wasn't sure which one will be the best on top of both kind of papers, the greenish turquoise one and also the apricot one. And this is the reason why I just try that out beforehand. And that's always a good tip. If you're not sure which color you want to put on top, you always can try this on some scrap papers. And of course, if you don't have acrylic inks, you can do almost the same with watercolors. The clear gesso will work absolutely fine with watercolors. Another alternative would be to use brushes. I think they will give you also really interesting effects, and this will be one of the next techniques I will share here with these layering stuff and abstract work. And I also think it's a really enjoyable process. Um, Another tip I would recommend, don't care about the results because then you will just limit yourself and it will be more of a hard job to create the page because you will be always afraid that it will not turn out well. And that's not the point. I preferred the last color I've used, the Liquitex Burnt Sienna, and it's a wonderful color. I love it, and it also mixes so beautiful with blues and makes really nice greenish colors. And this is what I'm going to use at first on my page, and I just um, put something on a dish, and I go in with a wet brush and a really big brush to make a big and bold mark on top of my page. And this is what I love, that layering you get with the colors underneath. And this is why I tried it out beforehand. I will now switch to a smaller brush because I get some different marks. And that's also something that will give you depth and interest, using different mark making tools and also different brushes, because a round brush would just give you a different outline compared to a big square brush. And that's just something you can experiment with. At this stage, I felt that everything was quite reddish now, and I wanted to bring in some more of that turquoisey feel. And I'm using the Liquitex, I think it's the Prussian blue or the turquoise. Um, I can't remember, but I hopefully will see it once I'm putting it down onto the page. I think this should be, I can't tell you, either the Prussian blue or the turquoise. Both colors work so well with the burnt sienna. I've already used them together quite often. I think it's the turquoise. I think it's not the Prussian blue. Yeah, it looks like the turquoise. And I just wanted to bring that in because everything was quite reddish, and I thought that would look good, and I think that was the right decision. And here you can see how beautiful the green is you get with these two colors. And it also increases the contrast of the whole composition, because mixing those two colors gives you a darker tone. And that's what I'm looking for in my work, is to have a big tonal range. Means I have some really light areas and some really dark ones, and all the midtones in between. You can easily check this by turning a photo of your work into black and white. And there you can see if you have a wide tonal range or if it's quite limited. And having a wide tonal range makes a piece more interesting. My inks are dry now, and I have prepared some mark making tools that I might want to use, and I'm starting with that Stabilo all in white to make some scribbles on my collage. I also have some Posca paint pens and a stamp set to bring in even more texture. And I just want to bring in these white scribbles because I felt that might look good, and I really liked it. And I'm also going to use a normal pencil to make some more scribbles on my page. You have to make sure not to overwork it with this technique. Just a few, maybe have a cluster where you have some more, but not all over your page in the same intensity. What I also want to have is some more white areas or highlights in this darker area, because that looks quite flat, and I think to have a higher contrast will bring in it will bring in more depth and interest. And I'm using a white Posca paint pen. What's quite important about these pens is, especially if you have a lighter color, to shake them up very, very well, because otherwise it will not be white. It will be a little bit watered down. And that's it's important to shake them up quite well. And what you can do with these markers is create different patterns on your piece. And you can create so many different patterns. I love doing dots because it's a really nice pattern and it looks quite natural to me. And you can vary it so much. You can make big dots, small dots. You can put them far apart or closer together. You can make them in different sizes in one pattern, and you can paint them in different directions like I'm doing it here. On the left side, I turned my hand at another angle compared to the right side, and that also gives you a different pattern. And I'm covering up almost the whole dark area because I really liked how this looked. In this case, I now have the option to cover up that circular collage piece with the white dots, just a corner of it, and then it will blend more into the background. But I really like that one stand out, so I keep it as it is. But that's something you can play with. Um, if you want to have a piece put into your whole spread a little bit more, you can cover it with kind of a pattern, or you just leave it out like I did it here to make it stand out a little bit more. I will now go in with the turquoise Posca pen because I really missed some more of that bright turquoise that is a little bit on the left corner at the bottom. And I'm doing also dots. I just do a different pattern. I have a bigger Posca paint pen here, which makes some more rounded dots when you put it down, like I do it here. And I just make some marks more far apart than the white dots to bring in a different pattern. To get another texture, I decided to pick one of the stamps from that stamp set I have laying next to me. It's from our Mix It Up #1 stamp set, which is one of the stamp sets of the month. Each month we have one or sometimes two stamp sets that are our highlight, and these sets are 10% off during the whole month. And this is one of the sets, and the other is the Mixed Media Marks #1. And you get this the whole April 10% off. I'm going to use these small numbers because I really like the texture and I want to add some of it to my composition, and I think that matches really well. What I recognized when I was done with this, that my uh, brown black circle pattern is so centered that I think I have to unbalance it a little bit. And I just picked one of these circles and I'm going to glue it just to the right side to make that look a bit more non-centered. And I just lay that piece on top and I have a peek through my camera because then I can see this page a little bit more far away, and that makes it easy to decide if I want to add it and where I want to add it. And I decided I'm going to adhere it, and I just glue it to the right side. So it looks a bit more not so centered anymore because there is something on the right. And I'm also going to add a sentiment to this spread and also a focal point. At this stage, I wasn't sure if I wanted to add my focal image to this page, and then I made a story over on Instagram and I asked you, and I think more than 80% told me to use the focal image, and this is what I did in the end. I'm going to adhere this and my sentiment off camera because it takes me a while to adhere all these words and to pick them out. And here you can see the finished page. I'm really happy with it and I enjoyed the process so much. It's definitely something I'm going to do more often. I hope you enjoyed today's video and maybe you want to watch another video, and I wish you a lovely weekend. Bye.